Hi, I'm Manjeet Pandey. I'm Daito Fellow 2014, Summer Fellow. I'm currently a civil engineer and working as Construction and Strategy Director at United World Schools, Nepal.
Hi, my name is Abhinav Khanal. I am a Daito Fellow from 2014 as well. And currently I'm leading an organization called Bean Voyage.
Hi everyone, I'm Surya Karki and I'm also a Daito Fellow for 2014. I happen to be the country director for United World Schools Nepal, and I'm also the chief sales and marketing officer for Delish Dairies.
We'll kick it off with some questions.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool. I'll start. I'll ask the question.
Okay.
Smaller one. Let's start with something. Oh wow, this is a very tough question. What is your message to the Nepalese youth today? Let's ask this in the end.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful one.
Where were you in 2014? Where are you now after 6 years? What has changed? What has remained the same? Did you think you would be here in 6 years? How does that make you feel? So basically journey, right?
Yeah.
2014. Man,
Yeah.
that was what, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
I was young. I feel old now.
You were in university back then, right?
Yeah, no, I was finishing my undergrad.
Okay.
As far as I know. What you had finished and you came here, right?
No, I was 6 years ago. I was in my undergrad.
You were in undergrad.
Yeah,
You were also in
we
undergrad.
were all.
So all of us in
I
undergrad.
guess the Daito Fellowship was kind of the place where you were still in university and then you came to Nepal
Yeah.
for some experience.
I was saying, some of our friends were not, no?
Yeah, there were a few people who graduated.
Yeah. 2014, what was I doing? I was confused. I didn't know what I mean, I knew what I was doing. I had just separated from my first social venture, so my University Academy, and then I was right in the middle crossroads of whether I would stay back in the US or come back to Nepal. That was probably a very bad state to be in, very confused. I think I was also worried about my senior year because we have to do a thesis, a project, and I was still confused. What the hell would I do? But then when I was in the crossroads, I think this opportunity for Daito Fellowship came along, and I guess when you're confused and you find something to latch on to, you go on with it. So did you realize it? They stayed with their mother. And what you were in your.
I was in my junior, or sophomore actually. I was
Sophomore, yeah.
Second year, and I think I was also slightly confused, but I was more scared. I liked the idea of Nepal because I grew up most of my life away from Nepal, so I liked the idea of Nepal all my life. It was very nationalistic in my heart, but I never had a concrete way of giving back in a way. I never knew how to come back to Nepal and actually do something in this country. And so Daito was the first actual opportunity for me to experience that, and it was such an overwhelming experience because I started working for a politician, and it went from I knew nothing about Nepal, including even the language. I still can't read Nepali very well, to actually working in a public service fellowship where I was in the office of the MP, and the first meeting he gave me a 70-page report all in Nepali about climate change, and it was like, I want you to make a summary of this for a presentation. And I think it was such a drastic change, but I think it broke that barrier of this fear of what Nepal is or what it means to be working in Nepal, because obviously the Daito team and the training we were getting was kind of easing us into this very big overwhelming role of being a legislative assistant or the different roles that we took as fellows. So I think that kind of broke it, and then obviously after that I felt more comfortable coming back to Nepal and obviously working with you guys for a while, and then now kind of coming back to Nepal again and starting something here. So
Yeah, I was.
You were what, 21?
No,
or 20? Just turning 19, I believe, right?
No, I was 20.
20.
So I was in my third year. I was applying for internship. It was a part of our course that we had to do internship. I actually got a good opportunity in one of the universities, big universities in India. But I left that for Daito because I thought this would be an exciting challenge. That was kind of more related to my subject. I'm a civil engineer. It was more technical type of internship, but I came here to get some exposure because I wanted to know about the government services, and like I had some sort of negative type of perception regarding this government works and all. But this was a good experience for me. I got a chance to know about this, and then definitely my perception changed. There is different reasons why we think that it's not right. But yeah, it was a good experience for me. Yeah.
Mazana, I remember talking to Bhushan Dai in over Skype, and he asked me.
Was that your interview?
Yeah, that was my interview. I was
Yeah.
like, so he asked. It was like, because I had chosen duita of the two former prime ministers, Baburam and Malcolm. I had chosen them as my priority. Baburam was like the first priority because
a future prime
it was
minister chooses past prime minister.
Are you
Makes
kidding me?
sense.
No.
It's kind of,
Marketing is also possible.
yeah.
no, but interesting. त्यो project चाहिँ मन पराएको थियो क्या बाबुरामको, किनकि it was related to sustainable development, something along that line, हैन?
Yeah.
अनि back then I was just like the freak who did this climate change stuff, went to climate change negotiations, went to like the UN SDG negotiations and all that. So त्यति बेला चाहिँ त्यो hyped, somewhat naive person who wanted to transform this country to, sustainability, दिगो विकास and all sort. So I thought that would be a good opportunity. Then Baburam decided that I was not a good fit. So Bhushan Dai ko interview ma, if you were not to get the first choice, would you still do it? And I was like, it's an opportunity. Why not just take it on? I think prior to the Untitled Fellowship, getting to work hand on hand, face to face with former prime ministers or even MPs would probably be something we dream of, because obviously there is no linkage between what people do at the top level and what people like us want to get done at the top level. So त्यति बेला when that was offered, again you get to that crossroad of like, are you actually going to get something done? And त्यति बेला I had to give up one opportunity to get the other one. Action Aid सँग research opportunity मिलेको थियो, अनि wanted to take it side by side but couldn't do that. So stuck with Untitled Fellowship, and I think that was a good start. That was a good start though.
Yeah.
I think त्यसले चाहिँ धेरै नै के भन्ने, it gave a momentum to my inner energy. I mean, I used to talk to you, right, about frustrations, about how things didn't work here. हाम्रै कुरा हुन्थ्यो नि त. You had a good MP, by the way. त्यति बेला good working partnership. You had one.
Good guy,
हाम्रो चाहिँ, I mean, yours too was good, right? Mine was a rocky one. Mine was a rocky one. Like, I met him twice and I designed the whole project, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think the exposure that I got since I think post interview, interview लिइसकेपछि फर्केर यहाँ दायित्व फेलो भनेर काम गर्न बसिसक्दा अनि आधी बाटो पुग्दा मात्र आफ्नो मान्छे जसको प्रोजेक्ट डिजाइन हुँदैछ त्यसलाई भेट्दाखेरि you'd feel like what the hell is going on. तर during that time त्यो जुन I think the platform मिल्यो नि for us to connect, that was probably 2014, and the decision to actually take on the opportunity was not for the fact that we would get to know these high level people, but I think it was more of the fact that we got to know each other. मलाई चाहिँ I think I'm grateful for that, किनकि त्यति बेला जब नेपाल फर्किने डर थियो, I was at the crossroad, भनौँ न, प्राइभेट जब गरौँ US मै 2 years को लागि कि नेपाल फर्किम भन्ने जब जुन crossroad मा थियो, नेपाल फर्किनलाई there was more trust in myself, seeing people who were already confused and they were more confused than I was, but then they were also willing to jump in. So त्यो हुँदा चाहिँ I think 2014 को त्यति बेलाको state myself was a lot more confused, but also a lot more assured that there were people like me out there, अनि willing to be outside that bracket of people who chose the easy route, right? So I mean, I think what I am today is definitely a result of that particular day when I decided that I would do the fellowship. किनकि अर्को आफ्नो नजिकको समकाक्षीलाई हेरेर नै यु स्टार्ट कमिङ ब्याक अर यु स्टार्ट टेकिङ डिसिजन. I'm grateful that you guys were there for Namna.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like. I was graduating from university. I was talking to him, and on the phone, and you were in Nepal. You were running UWS already, and you're like, you're coming next week. And I was like, I don't have money. I can't come. He was like, I got your tickets. You're coming to Nepal next week. We're gonna do this stuff. And I think having that community, I just remember what you were saying. Like, you have this option of like 1 year OPT garne, like stay in the US and maybe earn a little bit of money, but like it's just that American dream kind of thing. But then like I remember having that community and a supporter back where you had already started it for a while, and you said, we've done some work already. Come back, let's do some work. Then let's do it kind of in a big way. Gave me so much confidence. I never applied for OPT. I never applied. I didn't stay for even a day after graduate. I just came right away. And obviously, if we weren't in Daita, I don't think we would have met necessarily and like had that community to like work together and come back. So that's pretty cool.
No,
Next question.
I mean, you were
next question.
You were like
Stop.
you were too young.
I don't know.
Why are you using his age? Why does it matter?
What's I mean, like?
Oh, you mentioned Buddha.
Uncle, take another question.
Uncle. Okay, let's go. Question say, you all were a part of 2014 Daita Fellowship. How was your fellowship experience? In what ways was the fellowship impactful to you? It was a good experience for me personally. I had a good MP who was very supportive. And I would like to just remember the first day in my Daito experience. त्यसमा चाहिँ के थियो भने पुकार्दै भूषण दाइ र म चाहिँ हाम्रो एमपीलाई भेट्न चाहिँ सिंहदरबार गएको थियौँ कि अनि उहाँ चाहिँ he was deputy prime minister and minister of local development and federal affairs. अनि lot of people were there. त्यो बेला त्यो म्युनिसिपालिटीहरू त्यो अपग्रेड गर्ने कि लबिङको त्यस्तो मान्छेहरू धेरै थियो कि अनि there were lot of people there, एकदम crowded. अनि त्यसपछि के अरे हामी जाँदाखेरि त लाइक धक्का गरेर मान्छेहरू हुन्छ नि छिर्न खोज्ने कि अनि त्यस्तो बेला गएर हामी त पछाडि नै बस्यौँ कि अनि देन अल्सो वी गट अपर्च्युनिटी टु मिट द्याट पर्सन द एमपी अनि त्यसपछि he was very supportive from day one. अनि even in that huge mass he called us, he talked to us in person. He got to know about us, like के गर्नुहुन्छ कस्तो मेरो बारेमा स्पेसली किनभने भूषण दाइ पुकार्दाको बारेमा he knew somewhat about Daito and भूषण दाइ पुकार्दै and that was day one was very good for me. अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ he had one person, his helper, like somewhat like cadet. अनि उहाँले चाहिँ त्यो पर्सन त्यो मान्छेसँग चाहिँ कोअर्डिनेट गर्नु भन्नुभयो अनि त्यो मान्छे was very supportive. अनि त्यसपछि like they arranged my office space. It was in his home itself in Thamel चाक्सीबारीमै. उहाँले बिहान कार्यकर्ता भेट्न युज गर्ने त्यो रुम नै दिउँसो चाहिँ मैले युज गर्थेँ. 9 बजे पछाडि उहाँले 8 बजेसम्म भेट्नुहुन्थ्यो. 9 बजे पछाडि चाहिँ मैले युज गर्थेँ. लाइक I used to be there for around 3-4 PM in the afternoon. त्यो बेला चाहिँ like my project was related to river reviving Tovikhola that runs through his constituency. अनि त्यो कसरी रिभाइभ गर्ने कसरी क्लिन गर्ने त्यस्तो त्यो रिलेटेड प्रोजेक्ट थियो. अनि त्यो बेला चाहिँ लाइक I used to study a lot of research papers related to river reviving and all. अनि त्यसपछि उहाँको कनेक्सनको थ्रु चाहिँ I got chance to meet with high level government officials who are working on similar projects. Even Bagmati Action Plan को डिरेक्टरसँग भेटेँ. अनि त्यसपछि मैले जस्तै काठमाडौँ भ्याली डेभलपमेन्ट अथोरिटीको चिफहरूसँग भेटेँ. It was a good experience for me, learning experience राम्रो थियो. Like he was very supportive, MP was very supportive. अनि अर्को चाहिँ साइड बाई साइड चाहिँ दायित्वले दिने ट्रेनिङ पनि धेरै नै राम्रो थियो. त्यसले चाहिँ लाइक फर मी I was just freshly I was a fresh guy, थर्ड इयरमा थिएँ कलेजको होइन. अनि इभन मेरो त्यो the way I deal with the people, I didn't have that exposure. दायित्वको थ्रु चाहिँ मैले त्यो सिक्ने मौका पाएँ. कतैको ट्रेनिङ, लिडरसिप ट्रेनिङ एन्ड देन त्यो कोचिङ हुन्थ्यो होइन वेन्सडे त्यो कोचिङ त्यस्तै के थियो. अनि लाइक it was pretty good experience for me.
Yeah, I think I had very similar experience like you. So like, I think I was also, as you said, like I think I got the luckiest in terms of the MPs, because Gagan Thapa was very heavily open about the fellowship and loved the idea. And I think I went for the meeting. I had Amir Dai, so he was there and he met me in his office, which was actually near where I live. So I went to this was his MP office, so it was not like, it was kind of like the local office, and so hundreds of people in the office, just grievances, pani aayena, batti aayena, everything is just going on, right? And then you're going in and trying to get a few minutes to introduce yourself. It's kind of overwhelming. But then Amir had set up an appointment, and he was very helpful, and then we met him right on time. Like, he was right on time to meet with us, and he actually met with us for a solid 15-20 minutes. And then he said, let's set up a meeting with both of the fellows. I had Sakar there as well, so it was 2 fellows, which was also helpful for us because it's nice to have 2 the fellows in the same place. And so Sakar and we set up a time, I think the next day, and then he gave us a full, I think, 1 hour, 1.5 hours to plan our fellowship. And he gave time for Sakar and talked about his work in education, and then he turned to me and talked about this urban planning thing. At that time I was very interested in urban planning, and more as a campaign, not as much as in terms of like infrastructure. And so he turned to me and he said, he gave me that book, this report that was 70-something pages, and he said, I want to turn this into something that's more interesting for people. The research had things from water pollution to waste management to air pollution. It had everything kind of covering the situation of Kathmandu. You only wanted to focus on Kathmandu at that time. He said, let's use all of this data and let's create a campaign called Livable Kathmandu. I want to create a Kathmandu that's livable for my children. I think his first child had just been born, and the second child was born right after, and so he was very concerned about it as like something not only for his constituents but also for his child. I don't know why I looked at you when I said child, but it's just weird. But like, yeah. But yeah, so no, more like I think he's gonna have a child.
No, he doesn't. No.
Just kidding. I'm kidding. You should cut this part out. Okay. So yeah, he was quite concerned about that, and so he basically asked me to kind of lead a whole campaign, and it was quite overwhelming. So I started with kind of doing a lot of research, and then we launched a campaign called Livable Kathmandu, and we did a bunch of different events and a lot of kind of creative things. So we did a debate competition. I think you guys came to some of that as well. So we did a whole debate competition, and the whole debate was called Livable Kathmandu Debates. And it was, I think, like 3.5 weeks long, and every week we would have different university and school students debate different issues in the livable Kathmandu sphere. So water management, waste, transportation, all of that stuff. And then in addition to that, we were doing a lot of policy level stuff. So like putting out a lot of recommendation for parks, which now I think is becoming more successful with it. But at that time, he had this idea of buying private land and turning it into public parks, at least in his constituency. And so we did a lot of research on finding those locations and trying to get government to provide support. So it was quite productive. Like, I never felt like I was bored, and he also gave me a space in his office, a little cubicle where I could go and work. And it was pretty awesome. I think good experience for sure.
Mine was good too. In 2014 सुरु गर्दा चाहिँ अब he was in the midst of the party convention थियो नि त त्यति बेला I think पार्टीको महाधिवेशन हुँदै थियो, अनि उहाँ चाहिँ अध्यक्षमा लड्नु भएको थियो. त्यो भइसकेपछि उहाँसँग त्यस्तो धेरै समय थिएन के. तर डिस्पाइट द्याट अब मैले उहाँलाई चाहिँ दायित्व फेलोसिपको आधी बाटोमा भेट्यो हो. मतलब हाम्रो त्यो फेलोसिप सिद्धिनुभन्दा लगभग 2-3 महिनाको फेलोसिपमा 1.5 महिना बितिसक्दा मात्र भेटेको. तर त्योभन्दा पहिले नै एटलिस्ट एउटा अवधारणा चाहिँ बनाइसकेको थिएँ कि उहाँको जुन नमुना गाउँ बनाउने एउटा अवधारणा राख्नु भएको थियो, त्यसको लागि चाहिँ पहिलेदेखि नै रिसर्च गरेर एक स्थितिसम्म पुर्याएको थिएँ. सो पहिलोचोटि उहाँसँग आई थिङ्क बानेश्वरमा पार्टी उहाँको आफ्नै एमपी अफिस केही थियो कि त्यस्तै, उहाँसँग त्यहाँ गएर भेटेँ. इट वाज लाइक a 5-minute मिटिङ. अभियसली अध्यक्षमा लड्न आँटेको मान्छे, अनि त्यस्तै बेला चुनावको बेला डिडन्ट ह्याभ मच टाइम. तर इन्ट्रेस्टिङली के भयो भन्दा माई जर्नी डिड नट एन्ड देयर. मेरो चाहिँ जर्नी विथ माधव कुमार नेपाल डिड नट एन्ड विथ द फेलोसिप. इट गट स्टल्ड फर अ टाइम बिङ. तर मैले जब युनाइटेड वर्ल्ड स्कुल सुरु गरेँ इट केम ब्याक अन भनौँ न. युनाइटेड वर्ल्ड स्कुल सुरु गर्ने बित्तिकै चाहिँ मेरो जुन कनेक्सन बनाएको थिएँ माधव नेपालसँग, मैले मेरो मेन्टरसँग भेट गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ उहाँको सम्बन्ध माधव नेपालसँग थप नजिक भएको थाहा पाएपछि चाहिँ आई थिङ्क वी स्टार्टेड वर्किङ मोर क्लोजली. अनि मेरो सम्बन्ध चाहिँ एज कन्टिन्युड अन टिल डेट. वी आर भेरी क्लोज भनौँ एक हिसाबमा. एटलिस्ट पहिले जुन तीन महिनामा भेट्न पाइँदैन थियो, अहिले एटलिस्ट if there's an urgent issue to be discussed, I am considered part of the discussion भनौँ न. त्यतिसम्मको इम्प्याक्ट भनेको चाहिँ ओभरअल आई थिङ्क मेरो जुन सेल्फ इनिसिएटिभ ह्याबिट आई थिङ्क मैले अलिअलि लुज गर्न थालेको थिएँ. त्यो त्यति बेला दायित्व फेलोसिप गर्दाखेरि अब एउटा निचोडमा त पुर्याउनु पर्ने थियो, किनकि हामी सबैलाई टास्क दिएको थियो होइन. अनि अरू भए पनि नभए पनि टास्क गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने एउटा जुन आत्मबल आयो आफूमा, त्यसको लागि आई थिङ्क भेरी ग्रेटफुल. अनि अरू कुरा भनेको चाहिँ पुकार दाइले जुन तरिकाले लिडरसिप ट्रेनिङ दिनुभएको थियो, आई थिङ्क वी टुक इट हार्ड हेड अन जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ होइन. अनि त्यसले गर्दा पनि मोर अफ त्यो एमपीसँग काम गर्ने त्यति बेलाको भन्दा पनि आई ह्याड माई कोलिग्स द्याट आई वुड वर्क अन अ डेली बेसिस. अनि आई गेस द फ्याक्ट द्याट त्यहाँ आएपछि आई स्टार्टेड ड्रिमिङ अफ समथिङ बिगर देन जस्ट माइसेल्फ, ड्रिमिङ अफ समथिङ मोर देन जस्ट होइन एउटा काम. त्यो पछि त युनाइटेड वर्ल्ड स्कुल्सलाई पुस गरायो हो. नेपालमा मैले जसरी भने शैक्षिक रूपान्तरण ल्याउनु नै छ, जनतालाई राम्रो ठाउँमा पुर्याउनु नै छ भन्ने जुन सपना देखियो र सुनिश्चित गर्न सक्यो त्यो दायित्व फेलोसिपको बेलामा. आई थिङ्क तिमीहरू सँगै थियौ त त्यति बेला कुरा गर्दा पनि. सो आई थिङ्क द फेलोसिपको इम्प्याक्ट ओभरअल इज द फ्याक्ट द्याट आई ह्याड पिपल द्याट आई कुड टक टु. अनि सिस्टम एक्सेस हुनु नै ठुलो कुरा हो होइन. दायित्व फेलो भनेर ठाउँ जान पाइन्थ्यो राइट, एटलिस्ट जान पाइन्थ्यो नि. अनि द फ्याक्ट द्याट वी वर देयर वेन इट वाज स्टिल अ सिड एन्ड वी हेभ दिज मेमोरिज एन्ड वी हेभ द कनेक्सन द्याट वी हेभ अल थ्री अफ अस is an impact for me. I think it's an experience that that the MP wouldn't substitute. But overall, it was a good experience with the MP too.
How do you understand leadership? How has your idea of leadership manifested and evolved since the time you took the course during your fellowship? This reminds me of the first activity that we did when we went for our leadership course at IOE.
Oh yeah.
First activity was he said, "What is a leader?" And we had to like say words, and then we all said like all these words like courageous and la la la, and then he like put out like an actual definition of a leader, and then I think compared it with, was it leader versus authority or something? I don't remember, but it was something of that sort.
Yeah, don't remember.
I don't know. There are like this idea of like authority or like I think someone who's assigned.
The fact that you can remember you are a good leader.
No, I just remember that because this reminds me of the question he had asked, like what's your definition of a leader? And then compare like a leader with someone who just is of authority. And I think a lot of the values of like leaders are mostly value based. I think they have strong sense of values, different values for different leaders. Obviously, and I think authority or authoritative figure was more of someone who just was put in a position because of some reason, but not necessarily because people wanted that person to be in that power. But yeah, I've always felt like leadership has been defined by, like for me, a leader is someone who's leading with a lot of values. And I think that's the most important thing for me, and then everything else kind of the soft skills, the hard skills. I think that can be learned. I think it's first and foremost, it has to be a strong, valued person. I don't know. How do you define or how do you understand leadership, you guys?
For me, leadership is it's something that person has within. The motivation. It's as you said, it's a value. Seeing the bigger things. Even Puga Daile भने अनुसारको ध्रुवतारा एउटा भिजन हुने मान्छे कि अनि त्यसपछि द वान हु क्यान मेक अ टिम टेक अ टिम टुगेदर that is leader for me, the one who thinks of good stuffs अनि त्यसपछि who can take a team, like who can lead a team from behind. It's not from bragging the people aisa kaam gar भन्ने होइन, who can encourage the people, who can motivate, who can train them to do the right thing. That person is a leader for me.
मैले चाहिँ when दायित्व फेलोसिप सुरु गर्दा चाहिँ राइट त्यो हुन्छ नि लिडर्स वर न त्यो मिसकन्सेप्सन भन्दा पनि यु अलवेज लुक एट पोलिटिसियन्स एज लिडर्स राइट यु नेभर इमेजिन्ड अदर्स टु बिकम बी लिडर्स बिकज मान्छेले के भन्छन् नेतृत्व गर्ने नेतालाई भोट दिनु राइट द्याट बेसिकली मिन्स सम वान हु वुड बी इन पोलिटिकल पोजिसन इज वाट लिडर इज आई थिङ्क त्यो फर्स्ट डे भन्दा पनि ओभर द जर्नी चाहिँ I realized leadership was more of a journey. And then recent realization I never realized leadership had two things, leader and ship. Right? Someone who's rather the captain, someone who does things on a ship has to lead a whole system. It's not one person. The ship line navigation lana saknu. That person who does that has to work with the whole system. And then if you miss out on anything, or if you make someone angry or something, you put in jeopardy the whole ship lives and everything. So त्यो मान्छेले आफ्नो स्वार्थलाई पनि ठाउँ ठाउँमा छोड्नु पर्छ हैन. So the journey भयो नि त. The ship goes on a journey. There's a dude or manner of women who leads the ship to the right track, but then doesn't do it alone because it's big. There are systems. And हरेक wheel ma, हरेक cheese ma, the same person can go to. So therefore you run a whole system. I think the whole concept comes with values, right? You said, a person who's value-based, a person who can decide and act when there are times of emergencies, when the person can be calm when it's needed, and interestingly is a good listener. The thing I remember the most from back in fellowship journey ma चाहिँ याद भएको सबैभन्दा इन्ट्रेस्टिङ कुरा चाहिँ त्यहाँ हामीलाई बोल्न दिँदैन थियो नि त दुईजना कुरा गर्दा बाल्कनी कोच राइट
पछाडिपट्टि देयर वर इन्स्ट्रक्सन्स आई थिङ्क फर द अदर पर्सन राइट लाइक
या त्यो हेर्ने राइट इभ्यालुएट गर्ने एन्ड आई थिङ्क त्यति बेला जब वेन आई युज टु थिङ्क लिडर्स वेयर नेताज त्यति बेला मलाई के लाग्थ्यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब दुईजना बोलिरहेको छ भने प्रब्लम सल्भ गरिदिइहाल्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्थ्यो क्या राइट. त्यो अनकम्फर्टेबल पोजिसन हुन्थ्यो क्या त्यो ब्याल्कनीमा बसेर एनालाइज गरेर गाइड गर्ने राइट. त्यो गाइड हुन्थ्यो होइन एकजना आई थिङ्क सो राइट. त्यो क्वेसन सोध्ने तिनजना हुन्थ्यो है कोच हुन्थ्यो. त्यो कोच भन्ने एउटा ऊ पनि थियो नि. त्यो कोचिङ सेसन गर्दा चाहिँ यु फेल लाइक यु हेड टु एन्सर एभ्रिथिङ क्या त राइट. सिचुएसन भन्दाखेरि त्यो गाइड गर्ने भन्दा पनि यु वान्टेड टु एन्सर इट फर द्याट पर्सन. आई थिङ्क त्यति बेला चाहिँ इट वाज अ बिग रियलाइजेसन भनौँ न. इट वाज नट आई थिङ्क नेपालमा लिडरसिपको journey is slightly different, primarily because we don't have a demography of people who've seen leaders apart from politicians. The fact that Taito is there, at least in that circumstance, to say this is how you could become a better person, not a better leader, but rather a better person, was more of an appealing stance than saying you're not a good leader. So overall sense ma chai the definition of leadership has changed for me. Having started 2 companies and worked on an organization, I've realized that it's more of a ship. You're leading this whole ship, and then you can't just decide it on your own. So yeah, leadership journey, person who gets on the journey definitely does not always have to be at the front. should definitely be at the back. But yeah.
And I think the class experience, the fellowship, like work experience, just like working with some of the leaders that we were, like so-called leaders we were working with, I think it also somehow like humanized the idea of a leader. You know, and like I think we have always had this idea of a leader based on like media or whatever we hear, and now we were able to actually getting an opportunity to, or some level of opportunity, I guess, to like get to meet them, get to know them, and get to see who they really are. And I think it humanizes the person that we try to work with, not as just like this icon or this figure, but as like a human being. Like they have faults and they have problems, and they are also amazing at sometimes, and they're also family people, right? I think it helped, at least on a political level, it helped me become more calm about who our politicians are. They're not necessarily these evil people who are sitting in dark rooms and making terrible decisions. They're just human beings, and are going through journeys, right? And so I think that was quite powerful as well. I think part of the course we would talk about some of the great leaders. I think we had Paras Khadka's example as one of the leaders, and we had Pradeep Narayan Shah, Mahatma Gandhi. I think we watched one of his speeches, Obama's 2004 election speech. Those were I think the four, or maybe a few more, right? Like, and so we would have that, like this ideal version of a leader, and then when we would go to work, we would see the real version of who the leaders are today. And it helped me humanize and understand that whatever we see of Gandhi from outside, it looks great, but maybe Gandhi also had his own challenges, and it's okay for us to be human and be ourselves as well. So that was, I think, something that changed after the fellowship, or as part of the fellowship for me.
मैले चाहिँ महाधिवेशन भइरहेको थियो कि त्यति बेला, and then the fact that I got to witness के कस्तो प्रोसेस हुँदो रहेछ, अनि to become that त्यो आफ्नो कार्यकर्ता, आफ्नो मान्छेले छानेर त्यो प्रेसरमा रहेर, त्यो प्रेसरमा बसेर नेतृत्व गर्न सक्छु भन्नु नै, आई थिङ्क त्यो एउटा करेज हो क्या. And you saying humanistic aspects त भइ नै हाल्यो, तर the fact that they had त्यो strength, inner self, belief, त्यो more standing in the forefront, I can steer these people in the right direction. होस् या नहोस्, तर at least saying that, able to say it, त्यो aspect हेर्दा चाहिँ I felt someone is there who wanted to take it on. We can always sit on the outside and criticize. It's different being at the forefront and getting hit by all sorts of interesting things from the media, from the people. I mean, तिम्रो त challenges चाहिँ फरक थियो नि. तिम्रो, he was in the government, नेपालमा तर लिडरको एक्सपेक्टेसन नै छुट्टै छ क्या.
होइन यस्तो हो कि लाइक आई फिल ओभर द टाइम के अहिले मैले रिसेन्टली लाइक फर पास्ट फ्यु इयर्स यो जब एकाडेमिक अथवा त्यो सेक्टरबाट निस्केर जब प्रोफेसनल लाइफमा पसेँ नि, त्यसपछि आई फिल लाइक लिडर इज सम वान हु क्यान क्रिएट अ सिस्टम के. इट्स नट अ पर्सन के. Like leader is a person, of course. He has vision and he creates to achieve certain goal. He creates a machine. Machine is any different machine को parts हो भने चाहिँ different expertise भएको मान्छेहरू हो के. अनि त्यसपछि त्यही मसिनलाई फङ्सन गराउनु नै एउटा लिडरको क्यापेसिटी हो जस्तो लाग्छ कि. लाइक टु अचिभ सर्टेन गोल. डिफ्रेन्ट अब सबैको आफ्नो होला. कोही टेक्निकल सेक्टरको मान्छेको टेक्निकल गोलहरू होला, कोही अब पोलिटिसियन्सहरूको आफ्नै उहरू गोलहरू होला होइन. अनि त्यसरी लिडर चाहिँ बरु अलिकति पछाडि नै बसेर बाल्कनीमै बसेर त्यो मसिन फङ्सन गरेको हेर्ने र लाइक डिफ्रेन्ट अरू चिजहरू पनि हेर्दै जाने, प्रोटेक्ट गर्दै जाने, आफूले बनाएको त्यसलाई प्रोटेक्ट गर्दै जाने. बेला बेलामा ग्रिस हाल्नुपर्छ, ग्रिस हाल्ने अथवा लाइक द्याट क्यान बी ट्रेनिङ अर फ्युलहरू हाल्नुपर्छ. लाइक द्याट आई फिल लिडर भने चाहिँ द वान हु क्यान क्रिएट मसिन टु अचिभ सर्टेन गोल. मसिन पर्सन.
What is your message to your 18-year-old self? 18 वर्षमा गएको UWC मा. UWC. What is the message here? Sir, what is your message?
I don't know. I was thinking it's almost 9 years ago. So like
mine was like 10.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago. I don't remember myself from 18 But I think I would say just calm down. Like I think I just felt when I was 18, I was always an anxious person. I still am, but I still remember like when I was 18, I was extra anxious. I thought I had no more, like I didn't have enough time to do all the things I wanted to do in my life. So then at 18, I felt like I had to have already achieved so much, and I had to already be to like running for the Turbatara, that Pukar that would always talk about, the North Star. And I remember just 18 was just a time when super involved, like at UWC you have all these people that are also like,
were you in the student
like,
positions
you just want to be involved with everything, right? So that like 18-year-old myself like didn't have enough time for deep relationships or deep conversations. It was all about like, what am I doing, how am I achieving? And now I'm almost 10 years after that, I'm trying to push myself away from that and like trying to have more time for myself, be more mindful. I started meditating a couple of years ago, which is kind of like, I can't believe that I'm doing that. It's not a thing I would have done 10 years ago. Just to be like, hey, you need to take time for yourself and journal and do all these things. So I would have probably just taken an 18-year-old self and said, just calm down. Like you have enough time. And that's how I feel now as well, like especially with whenever there's a new opportunity or a way to kind of do more things or add more to my plate, I just remind myself like, hey, you're only 27. Like, hopefully we'll live for another like 50 years or more. But it's like, okay, calm down. What's your message?
College at the 12 method. I think I was preparing for my engineering exams. I was pretty harsh on myself. क्लास कति बजे 10-9 बजेदेखि क्लास हुन्थ्यो, बिहान 6 बजेदेखि मेरो प्रिपरेसन क्लास हुन्थ्यो. सो मैले 1 वर्ष अगाडिदेखि नै इन्जिनियरिङ प्रिपरेसन क्लासहरू लिइरहेको थिएँ. I was pretty hard on myself, but ultimately that was better for my academics also. तर पनि I would rather say that त्यो म क्लास 10 सम्म हुँदाखेरि like I was involved in Red Cross and all. I was secretary of my school Red Cross committee. डिस्ट्रिक्ट रेड क्रसको पनि म थिएँ, डिस्ट्रिक्ट रिप्रेजेन्टेटिभ, बोइज रिप्रेजेन्टेटिभ थिएँ. तर पछि 11-12मा आई वाज मोर फोकस अन माई एकाडेमिक्स. अनि त्यो चाहिँ लाइक अलिकति त्यति हार्स नभएको हुन्थ्यो जस्तो लाग्छ. आई फिल गुड द्याट आई डिड. त्यही पनि म अलिकति हार्स नभएको आफूसँग चाहिँ अलिकति एकदम हार्स नभएको थियो जस्तो लाग्छ.
म त लाइक युवर भर्खरै त युडब्ल्युसी सेकेन्ड इयरमा थिएँ जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई. अनि
सुरु भएर
त्यो कन्फ्युज्ड स्टेटमा थिएँ कि त्यति बेला पनि. आई थिङ्क लाइफ इज बिन अल कन्फ्युजन. अब वेन यु आर द सोल पर्सन इन द फ्यामिली, कलेज गएको, हाई स्कुल सिद्धेको, एन्ड देन इन अ न्यू कन्ट्री, नयाँ देशमा पढ्न गएको, एन्ड देन त्यो ठुलो ब्यागेज बोकेर गएको हुन्छ कि. वेयरएज अब प्रायः जस्तो एजुकेटेड फ्यामिलीजमा के हुन्छ भन्दा खासै त्यस्तो ठुलो ब्यागेज हुँदैन, किनकि एभ्रिबडी इज अलरेडी युज टु द्याट. फ्यामिलीमा र गाउँमा पहिलोचोटि समवन वेन्ट टु युनिभर्सिटी अनि समवन वेन्ट टु हाई स्कुल आउटसाइड द कन्ट्री. द्याट वाज अ बिग थिङ. त्यो भएपछि यु गो विथ द ब्यागेज क्या, यु डोन्ट गो अलोन. अनि आई थिङ्क त्यो पछि द प्रेसर के थियो भन्दा त्यति बेला चाहिँ आई थिङ्क 18 इयर्स अफ चाहिँ म यस्तो त्यो एङ्सियस थिएँ क्या, किनकि युडब्ल्युसी पछि के त भन्ने प्रश्नसँग आई थिङ्क जुधिरहेको थियो जस्तो लागेको थियो मलाई चाहिँ त्यति बेला. आई वाज स्टिल डिसाइडिङ के गर्ने, कसो गर्ने. अनि अब कलेजै गए पनि कुन कलेज जाने, के डिसिजन लिने, अनि त्यो डिसिजनले के इम्प्याक्ट गर्छ, किनकि यत्रो वर्ष पढियो, राइट. फ्यामिलीमा कम्पेरिजन हुन्छ नि त. अब तेरो फुपूको छोरोले कतार गरेर यति कमाइसक्यो त नि के गरिस्, राइट. यु कान्ट से मैले पढेँ. That's not what you know, families that have never been to school value. The value is how much you've earned, whether you've got a family already or not. Ani tyo bhayepachi it was more the two worlds that I was living in. My life, I think overall up until now as well is, I mean, I talk to you always, is it's been divided into two worlds. जुनमा चाहिँ I want to be myself, and जुनमा चाहिँ there's this whole baggage that's still expecting me to deliver, and then there's this whole baggage अर्को साइडमा that's saying, you know, you're going well but you can do better. And then so त्यति बेला 18 वर्षमा त्यही हो. I think different components working together. कहाँको लिडर बन्ने भन्ने नै कन्फ्युजन भइरहेको थियो क्या. स्कुलकैमा राम्रो गरौँ कि युडब्ल्युसीमै राम्रो गरौँ कि कलेज जाउँ कि नेपाल फर्क्यौँ कि. अनि नेपाल फर्क्यो भने पनि त्यो there are risks to it. You can't just decide on yourself. And so I think मेरो 18 वर्ष सेल्फलाई चाहिँ I would have said compartmentalize, prioritize, and take decisions as you see fit. अनि I think त्यति बेला I was slowly starting to trust myself जस्तो लाग्छ. किनकि the fact that I made it to UWC and was a big thing in itself for me. त्यो एउटा स्कलरसिप थियो, एउटा अपर्च्युनिटी थियो, अनि त्यो पाएर to have that, you know, silent space for myself away from home was a meditation for me, thinking place भनौँ न. So त्यति बेला मैले के भन्थेँ भन्दा चाहिँ to my 18-year self, you obviously have a long way to go हैन, तर that you live your life yourself हैन. You go to sleep with yourself and not with anyone else. Once you close your eyes, you're off with yourself. सायद त्यति बेला त्यो realization भएन. But if I could say anything, it would be, well, tomorrow if anything happens, it happens to you, not to the whole society. I think त्यो danger थियो क्या त्यति बेला चाहिँ. I was more worried for the baggage I was carrying rather than for myself. तर 18 वर्षको लागि के भन्नु, right? Naive. रमाइलो त was there नि हैन. युरोपीमा हुनु नै, I think the fact that नेपाल नै थिएनौँ भन्ने कुरा पनि छुट्टै रमाइलो थियो. छुट्टै रमाइलो थियो. It was like, किनकि यहाँ भइसकेपछि it would be छुट्टै प्रेसर क्या. अब के पढ्छस्, डक्टर पढ्छस् कि इन्जिनियर पढ्छस्, right?
त्यो चाहिँ हो. I would have probably gotten into medicine or something for sure.
म चाहिँ I was already set for neurosurgery. I was like, what? No.
Well, you studied human ecology, eh?
Yeah.
And I studied political science, so like clearly didn't follow the path, yeah.
Nobody in the world, probably. My mother doesn't understand what I've studied, so
yeah.
says something about what I've studied. तर yeah, नेपालै बसेको भए चाहिँ जुन my 18-year self, and I would probably be constricted by the ideals that our society lives with. जे नै भने डक्टर त अगाडि लाग्थ्यो तर के गर्नु, wasn't written on me, so
एकाउन्टलाई इमेल आएको थियो कि डक्टर सूर्य कार्की.
Yes, that was like, oh, nice. At least kind of सपना त
finally boy a doctor. So this one, the needs of the youth today, should we do this? Yeah, okay. What do you see are the needs of the youth today, and what can they do to prepare themselves to become stewards of economic growth in Nepal?
Key of economic growth, stewards.
This is it's a big question.
Big question. And
do you interact with a lot of young people? I mean, you guys do interact with a lot of teachers and people like that, right? So
I do with young entrepreneurs, funny.
Okay, nice. Are you mentoring folks or part of
rather than mentoring folks, we are in the same bandwagon.
Yeah, nice, okay.
I mean, you're starting a company earlier,
yeah?
Yeah. Right. It's been 2 years since I've tried to get something off the ground. What Nepali youth like? यार सजिलो काम नगर्छ यार, सबै त सजिलो खोज्छ यार नेपालमा. That's difficult. हो कि न? जे पनि सजिलो चाहिन्छ यार. काम गर्छस् भन्यो भने काठमाडौँ बस्छु, काठमाडौँमै काम दे भन्छ. हैन?
Is this about the fellowship you guys do?
होइन त्यो मात्र होइन, ओभरअल हो. जागिर, well, you're going to start a company. जागिर गर्छस् भने केमा हो भन्छ. फ्याक्ट्रीको के अरे सेल्स म्यानेजर अथवा अकाउन्टेन्ट बन्छस् भने कहाँ काठमाडौँमा हो भन्न सक्छ. राइट. अरू के छ, कम्पनी सुरु गर भने कहाँ पैसा छैन भन्छ. होइन आइडिया छ भने स्योर यो बिग छ लो गरिहालौँ भन्छ. होइन गर्न चाहिँ गर्छ हाफ वे थ्रु. नेपालमा अन्टरप्रेन्योरसिप भन्ने डेफिनेसन चाहिँ प्रायः जस्तो युवाहरूलाई अब बिकज एजुकेटेड युथले मात्र अन्टरप्रेन्योरसिप गर्ने भन्ने जुन अवधारणा छ नेपालमा त्यो गलत हो राइट हाम्रो जुन विदेशबाट फर्केको युवाहरू पनि छन् आई थिङ्क दे क्यान डु अ लट मोर जस्तो लाग्छ तर अन्टरप्रेन्योरसिप प्लेटफर्म्सहरू एक्सेस भनेको चाहिँ ओन्ली फर पिपल द्याट क्यान रिड इन्फर्मेसन द्याट क्यान डाइजेस्ट इन्फर्मेसन अनि त्यो भइसकेपछि त्यो डाइजेस्टेबल इन्फर्मेसन जसले लिन्छ most of them have gone into universities, haven't been to classrooms but have degrees. अनि काम के गर्छस् भने नि म सबै थोक गरिदिन्छु भनिदिन्छ राइट यु फेस द्याट होइन अकाउन्टेन्ट हायर गर्नलाई गर्नुपर्छ बिबिएस बिबिए अनि एमबिए गरेको मान्छे आउँछ नि गर्न आउँछ भने नि सर सिकाउनु गयो म सबै गर्छु आई थिङ्क सो बेसिकली सेइङ डोन्ट आई थिङ्क आफूले इनिसिएटिभ लिन सक्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ राइट इनिसिएटिभ लिएर पनि यु हेभ टु स्टिक विथ इट क्या हाम्रो नेपालमा चाहिँ प्रायः सबै दोधारे मनका छन् अनि प्रोफेसनल छैन सो आई डोन्ट नो के एडभाइस दिने यार
एडभाइस त होइन नि निड्स अफ द युथ भनेको
एडभाइस ओभरअल ओके निड्स के छ
निड्स लाइक तर त्यो तिमीले भन्यो नि लाइक क्विक विन्स खोज्ने जुन बानी छ आई डोन्ट नो इफ द्याट्स ट्रु फर जस्ट नेपाल और आई थिङ्क इट्स मेबी ट्रु फर द वर्ल्ड लाइक हाम्रो जेनेरेसन ग्रो अप हुँदाखेरि नै everything is in the fingertips होइन so अब फेसबुकमा ट्याक्क लाइक हान्ने बित्तिकै you're happy or you made someone else happy and you're like that's all प्रोटेस्ट गर्नलाई पनि तिमीले अहिले भन्दै थियौ नि बाहिर बसेर you can't be part of this like you can't complain about something you have to be in the arena to change the system right I think we're so like हामीलाई एक्सेस चाहिँ कस्तो छ भने टेक्नोलोजीले गर्दाखेरि बाहिर बसेरै you can feel like you've done a lot के so I feel like our generation has been plagued with this horrible thing which has also brought great stuff but the technology has really ruined us because I think it's making us feel really good about any small things we do a political kurama pani bhayo tara aru kurama pani you see something happening like right now the coronavirus it's easy to share a post on Facebook and it makes you feel good you go to bed and you're like I did something to help the world about coronavirus like mero 100 jana sathile herio pugya that's enough but perhaps that's not enough you need to do harder work like work that needs to for you to get out of your comfort zone the comfort zone bahar niskina garo nai huncha so I think I see that as a global thing and I see that as a big need for the youth of Nepal today is how do we get ourselves out of our comfort zone and you know I have to caveat by saying I don't think when I say Nepali youth I'm not talking about all of them because there are some Nepali youth that are working their asses off you guys are the team is doing really like good work around that but I think there's a section of Nepali youth that still have felt very comfortable and are okay with being in the status quo and I think we need to kind of keep pushing ourselves and saying okay is not good enough we need to or even good is not good enough we need to push ourselves better so it's one of the needs I see
I feel like Nepal युवाको प्रब्लम के छ भने they complain a lot come up with a solution के किन कम्प्लेन गर्ने किन प्रब्लम खतरले सिद्धि हो के भन्छ नि त ढुङ्गा इट्टा लिएर आउँछ नि सडकमा come with a solution के don't come with ढुङ्गा and इट्टा के if you don't like anything don't just say that I don't like it के say that what can be done to solve that problem
अनि नेगेटिभिजम बढी भयो
नेगेटिभ हो त्यो नेगेटिभिटी चाहिँ अलिक बढी नै छ अनि त्यसपछि अनि त्यो सोच्ने खालको होइन एक्सपोजर पाएको छैन कि एजुकेसन सिस्टममै त्यस्तो छैन कि एजुकेसन सिस्टममा कि पढ कि नपढेपछि चाहिँ अब त्यस्तै हो होइन कि राम्रोसित पढ्यो भने चाहिँ डक्टर इन्जिनियर बराबर के हुन्छ होइन अनि पढेन भने चाहिँ अब त्यस्तै अब अरू नै अरब कतार कता गयो मलेसिया गयो होइन त्यो सोचाइ छ कि पढ कि नपढ तर धेरै छ मिड वे के जसले चाहिँ त्यो एजुकेसन सिस्टममा चाहिँ त्यो चिज छैन जस्तो लाग्छ सो त्यो चाहिँ एक्सपोजर प्रोभाइड गर्नुपर्छ नेपाली युथ्सहरूलाई सो द्याट दे क्यान थिङ्क आउट अफ बक्स कम अप विथ द सोल्युसन फर एनी प्रब्लम दे क्यान सी इभन इन देयर ओन होम के घरमा पनि केही चिज हुन्छ नि एउटा घरमा चक्लेटको ऱ्यापर खसेर आउँछ देख्छ हिँड्छ अनि पछि हुन्छ नि बाटोमा है मान्छेले फोहोर फाल्यो भन्ने हिँड्छ आफ्नो घरमा चक्लेटको ऱ्यापर छ त सुन हान्छ त होइन त्यस्तो कुराहरू के सानोतिनो चिजहरू के सानोतिनो चिजहरू
there is a clear need for Nepali young people to actually wake up त्यो we are awake होइन I'll tell this to myself as well you know हिजोको आफैलाई पनि भन्छु होला if I could go back is you know I don't think I gave enough to complain about today के जति दिन्छ त्यति नै पाउने हो हैन आफू सेल्फ रेस्पोन्सिबल हुन सक्यो भने the next person will become more responsible जस्तो लाग्छ इकोनोमिक ग्रोथको लागि युथको जागरुकता महत्त्वपूर्ण छ कमिटमेन्ट महत्त्वपूर्ण छ म लिडरशिप भन्दिनँ तर इनिसिएटिभ महत्त्वपूर्ण छ not everybody wants to be at the forefront not everybody wants to initiate तर the fact that you're able to just not be complacent and you're able to just at least wake up every morning and say not the evening part sharing a post and then making the world better but rather contributing to your own environment के अब सबैलाई म सबैलाई चाहिँ के रे उद्यमी बन्नु चाहिँ भन्दिनँ नेपालको नीड सबैजना उद्यमी हुनु छैन नेपालको नीड सबैजना इनोभेटिभ हुनु छैन तर मलाई जहाँसम्म लाग्छ नेपालको युवाहरूको नीड भनेको चाहिँ एटलिस्ट आफूभन्दा माथि सोचेर आफ्नो जुन आमाको काख छ त्यहाँबाट निक्लेर केही गर्न सक्ने अटोट राखेर निक्ल्यो भने चाहिँ त्यसले ठुलो महत्त्व दिन्छ नेपाललाई अनि आफू अलिकति बढी नै एक्टिभ हुनुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ क्या नेपालको युवाहरू यस एक्टिभ छन् फर स्योर फेसबुकमा पनि छन् फर स्योर निक्लिन्छन् पनि गर्नुपर्ने चिजमा छैन क्या लाइक के भन्ने लाइक अब think about this right प्रब्लमको अन्डरस्ट्यान्डिङ सबैलाई छैन होइन लेट्स नट टक अबाउट मेलम्ची लेट्स टक अबाउट मोर देन द्याट होइन if you're talking about if you're passionate about cycling talk more about it rather than talk about elections right आफ्नो खुबीको कुरालाई चाहिँ पहिले प्राथमिकता दिउँ अर्काको खुट्टामा गएर टेक्ने काम नगरौँ कोरोना भाइरसको बारेमा मलाई थाहा छैन म बोल्दिनँ है सिम्पल छ नि मेरो जे एक्सपर्टिज छ त्यसमा कुरा गरौँ न अनि जे पहिलेदेखि चल्दै आएको प्रवृत्ति छ त्यसलाई चाहिँ हटाउनु निड छ सबैभन्दा महत्त्वपूर्ण इकोनोमिक ग्रोथको लागि अर्काको प्लेटमा के छ भने आरिस्य गर्नु भएन त्यसलाई कसरी तानौँ र कसरी खसालौँ भन्ने सोचका साथ यो देश चलेको भएकोले जुन माथिदेखि तलसम्म रिफ्लेक्ट छ होइन म आफै पनि सायद त्यसमा नि पर्छु होला तर भन्न खोजेको चाहिँ इट्स अ कम्युनिटी अब होइन वी लिभ टुगेदर अर्काले मेहनत गर्यो र फल खायो भने आफूले मेहनत नगरिकन फल नखाऊँ र अर्कोले खायो भने स्याबासी दिउँ आफू घरमा सुतेर बस्ने भने अर्काले देखेको सपनामा पानी नहाल्थ्यौँ राइट सो ओभरअल द बिगेस्ट निड भनौँ न अहिलेको मेरो हिसाबमा चाहिँ सबैभन्दा ठुलो निड भनेको चाहिँ हामी युवाहरू चाहिँ अलिकति नेपाली युवाहरू हामी चाहिँ अलिक कम्प्लेसेन्ट छौँ होइन हामीलाई सहजीकरण चाहिएको छ देश छोड्नेले देश छोड्न सजिलो छ देशमा बसेर सुतिराख्नेले देशमा सुतिराख्न सजिलो छ घरमा बसी बसी कम्प्लेन गर्न सजिलो छ गर्नेले गरिरहेछन् होइन क्रेडिट्स टु एभ्री वान हुज डन इट होइन अनि जो युवाहरू कतारमा गएर काम गरिरहेछन् क्रेडिट्स टु देम राइट फ्यामिली पाल्न गाह्रो छ होइन हामी जो अलिकति बढी नै इन्ट्रेस्ट देखाउँछौँ एटलिस्ट नेपालको अर्थतन्त्र विकासदेखि लिएर सम्पूर्ण कुरामा त्यसमा चाहिँ एकजुट हुनु र जागरुक हुनु महत्त्वपूर्ण छ जस्तो देख्छ म चाहिँ अनि त्यो पछि मात्र आउने हो क्या अरू त्यो पोलिसी चेन्जेसदेखि लिएर वी अलवेज टक अबाउट होइन यस्तो पोलिसी चेन्ज अनि उस्तो पोलिसी चेन्ज आम लाइक पोलिसी चेन्ज भएर के हुन्छ यु अलरेडी स्लिपिङ यु गोना गो इन्टु समथिङ वाट इज नो वे first get yourself up get out of your comfort zone you don't need to be knowledgeable in everything do what you know you're not part of a tribe you're not part of a group come together in a vision अब यही कुरा सबैले दोहोऱ्याएकै छ गर्ने कोही पनि हैन सो becomes one more thing in the market need के हो र हामी उठ्नु पर्यो जाग्नु पर्यो आफ्नो आफ्नो ठाउँबाट कन्ट्रिब्युट गर्नु पर्यो
And I guess that leads us to this question that I thought was interesting. Why do you think programs such as Daito Fellowship are important into this context? To context now, how does Daito fit in?
Yeah. Simple here. I'm तीनजना सँगै बस्नु भनेकै Daito is a platform यार जेसुकै भनौँ न हैन no matter I mean we've seen it grow from what at least it was not ground zero. It was somewhat getting to
we were
one.
the second or the third batch, I think.
We were
13 months we were okay.
second batch.
Second batch, yeah.
The fact that we were second batch and we've seen it grow, होइन? I guess हामी तीनजना सँगै बस्नुमा नि obviously we were connected but it was not the same thing.
No, I met you first time to first class मै IOE मै भेटेको थियो. We obviously didn't know each other and it was a bigger group. It was not just like तीनजना मात्रै थिएन. We were like Sabrina, Anuj like was he not a fellow?
No, he was not.
Yes, yeah.
No, I think Daito plays a big part in waking young people up, just like the fact that it connected all awake young people, or rather half awake young people, is a big thing. Just could be, I don't know. You guys probably
like I totally agree with what Surya said. Connecting like-minded people. Wanted to do something for the society. Like everybody wants to do something for the society. जसले पनि गर्न मन छ बाध्यताको कारणले कोही कता जान्छ हैन. तर दायित्व फेलोशिप वाज अ गुड प्लेटफर्म. हामीलाई चाहिँ एक अर्कासँग चिनायो. We have different expertise even in UWS where we like sometimes we three were in UWS. कुनै बेलामा when it was just starting. अनि all of us had different expertise which helped establish UWS in Nepal. अब त्यो एउटा कनेक्सन नभइदिया भए इट वुड ह्याभ बिन डिफिकल्ट फर सूर्य. मेबी इट वुड ह्याभ बिन डिफिकल्ट फर हिम टु स्टेब्लिस. त्यो एउटा कनेक्सन, एउटा नेटवर्किङ, लाइक माइन्डेड र इक्वली मोटिभेटेड प्रोएक्टिभ युथहरूको गराइदियो. एन्ड द्याट इज वाट इज गुड अबाउट दायित्व. अनि त्यो अलावा लाइक लिडरसिप ट्रेनिङ एन्ड अल त्यसले पनि फर मी पर्सनली, आई डोन्ट नो अबाउट यु गाइज, फर मी पर्सनली द्याट वाज भेरी हेल्पफुल लिडरसिप ट्रेनिङ. The way I deal with people and all.
Yeah, I think Daito plays a role of like a bridge between opportunities and what's happening, and young people who are kind of on the other side, like the comfort zone. I think it's getting them a little bit outside of the comfort zone, but with still some kind of an incubation. Okay? So it's still a little protective. At least I remember in our fellowship. The outside of the comfort zone for me was going into the office of the politician and working there, because it's like, oh my god, I don't know anything about how this country works, so I don't know how I'm actually helping. But then that protection to get nest one. I said to Siano office where we would meet every week and then we'd have the class every week. And everyone was on the same page. I mean, most people had the same problems, the same issues, and so you kind of went on this journey almost with a community, but still had to take the journey by yourself as well. And I think that really helped bridge that kind of gap of, I think perhaps prior to that, I would have been on the person who was on the other side of the bridge and comfort zone and then I think it kind of eased us into it. And 3 month time period, I think it's plenty to start feeling more comfortable, and feeling more confident as well. I think self-aware and confident of like, I think we can do something when And I remember within the group also, like, it wasn't all just talk about politics or leadership. We were also spending a lot of time designing ideas. I remember we came up with, like, I don't remember what the challenge was, but I think at one point we had this idea of, like, one new idea per day or something, and we would challenge ourselves to come up with new ideas. And UWS was just kicking off, but I remember Diallo was something that was also kicking off at that point. And everyone was just engaged in kind of supporting each other's ventures and ideas. And I think that is what the fellowship, and I think Daito in general, but like the fellowship can do for bridging that needs gap that we talked about earlier in Nepal, where I think more and more young people need opportunities like this. The one place where I think it might help to do better for fellowships like Daito is how do we target local youth? At least our fellowship, you had to be studying abroad, I think. So like, or had returned from abroad. Like, it had to be something of that sort. And so, like, I don't remember anyone else who had like Tadaday was also abroad.
I think
which year? I don't remember.
Avinash was a staff. No. So like everyone had to have been abroad. I'm pretty sure it's probably evolved over the years, but I just remember that being one point of like the question we just answered about the needs or mostly about young people who are living in Nepal.
Yeah.
And how can this fellowship be then tailored for the youth of Nepal who are living in Nepal, and like actually bridge the same gap that it bridged for us, for those people, because I think they perhaps have a bigger need and for a fellowship like Daito than even us. And so I think that's where, as a feedback, I think I would say maybe Daito fellowship national, maybe it's happening already, would be something that would be helpful. So
yeah, interestingly, Daito's platform is हाम्रोमा ल्याकिङ चाहिँ त्यो पनि छ क्या, निड छ नि त ठुलो, र निड के छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ स्क्याटर्ड युथ छन्, जोडिने ठाउँ भनेको पोलिटिकल पार्टी हो अथवा युथ विङहरू हो, एन्ड देन आउने कहाँ त सँगै भन्दाखेरि अब कसैको कम्पनी गऱ्यो भने पनि नट एभ्रिबडी वान्ट्स टु बी पार्ट अफ अ कम्पनी, अब कसैको फोरमै गऱ्यो भने नि इभेन्चुली इट बिकम्स पोलिटिसाइज्ड. सो दायित्व बिकमिङ नन पार्टिसन, बाइपार्टिसन भनौँ न, नन पार्टिसन बाइपार्टिसन, आई डोन्ट नो व्हाट टु से, apolitical agency is interesting in itself. I mean, we met, we're from different backgrounds, I know, with different experiences, could have different political views, but still we're here. So the connection that was in between, like you said, it was a bridge, दायित्वले bridge को रूपमा गरे. But हामी जो दायित्व बोध गर्ने मान्छे सोच, एक तरिकाको सोच भएका मान्छे थियौँ त्यति बेला, हामीलाई एक प्लेटफर्ममा ल्याएर कनेक्ट गराएर हाम्रो जुन इनर रेस्पोन्सिबिलिटिज, इनर क्युरियोसिटीलाई गाइड गर्न सक्ने एउटा प्लेटफर्मको रूपमा एक्ट गर्छ दायित्वले. आई थिङ्क इट्स अ भेरी भेरी इन्ट्रेस्टिङ प्लेटफर्म. बट या the deeper it goes into the country, the more effective this country will become. So hopefully in the future it gets out into almost every part of the country, and then creates people that that wake up, which is probably the need of the time.
Last question. Okay, this is the most important, powerful message to the Nepalese youths today. How many? If 60% youth, we're talking about what, like 18 million population. Yeah. Okay, so we're talking to 18 million people. It has to be strong.
It has to be strong.
We're gonna vote for him.
Vote for youngest prime minister.
No.
That was our joke. We always made jokes at Daito that this guy would be the youngest prime minister. I think you said that you were going to be the... Yeah, he said that. After introduction, I'm going to be the youngest prime minister.
When did I say that?
After introduction, like the first day, you said, I'm going to be the youngest
prime
minister.
Guys, I'm still 29, okay? Our prime ministers are when they become 60.
Yeah, so you still have a chance.
I still have an opportunity, yeah?
Yeah, so you said it like obviously.
Dude, you were the one who filmed it.
Okay.
थाहा छैन?
आफैले फिल्म गरेर But yeah, he said that.
You filmed it, yeah.
हामी सबै त्यो
message. I think it's very simple. हैन र?
I mean, consensus message to हैन, तपाईको message भन्नु.
मेरो message. Abhinav should come back, enjoy his life in Nepal.
I love it.
And marry a Costa Rican.
Why does that even matter? Like,
message for the Nepali young people. Care what advice? What message?
I think the one message that I have, which is, I guess, more personal, is that I think we should be okay with like living in a globalized world and not being... I think sometimes, and this might be contrary to, I think, the message that even like Daito's fellowship is promoting, is it's okay if Nepal is not the right place at the right time for you to be working or doing a thing or contributing.
Yeah.
I think all of us have lived in different places in the past, and there are different types of requirements for why you want to live and work in a place, and it's perfectly okay. Like, you cannot eat nationalism for dinner, right? Like, it's not something that you can survive on forever, and so I think we have to be careful of not being too involved in the nationalistic narrative of Nepal, and we should just do something about it. Like, there are people who are trying their best, and then it's okay if some people decide to take time off. I speak for myself. I left the country a few years ago, and I came back after 2.5 years. And I came when I knew I was ready to come back, and I left when I thought I didn't have much to do here, and I didn't feel like I was a productive member of the society. And I found it somewhere else. It was in Costa Rica. It was 8,000 miles away, right? So like, it's okay to understand that we're living in a globalized world. I also remember meeting a Daito fellow from our time, Denver. He was at MIT. Prashanday. So I had lunch with him last year. So he lives in Boulder, and I had lunch with him, and we were talking about this idea of like, it's okay, like because he worked here for a bit. He was at the investment board, I think, and then he did that was his fellowship, and then he did a little work later, I think. But then like he's doing some other stuff, and we were talking about like, you know, it's okay to not always be.
Yeah, just contribute as you can.
Yeah, and
it doesn't
like,
have to be your responsibility.
Exactly, and
right.
I know that it's a spectrum, right? Some people are just, okay, like my country is this and I have to be here, and it's okay if you're on the other side of the spectrum and saying, right now it's not the right time, and I will contribute when I can.
त्यो मात्र पनि हैन, तिमीले देश चलाउने र देश बनाउने ठेक्का त लिएको छैन.
छैन, exactly. Yeah. That pressure needs to be taken off. As much as we push people outside of comfort zone, we're not pushing you so far away to like this बनाएर आऊ. Like I think it's important to recognize that. So that's my, I think, one message is live your life and understand this is a globalized world.
So, like as I said in earlier conversation, so I just want to focus on the people that youth that is in Nepal only, and who are not so much the normal मान्छेहरु, normal नेपाली युथहरुको लागि त्यो एकदम हाई-फाई ठाउँको मान्छेहरुको लागि हैन, एकदम यो पोलिटिसाइज हुनु भन्दा केही चीजमा यु नो एउटा एकदम प्रेजुडाइज हुन्छ नि, एउटा थट राखेर कसैको अगेन्स्टमा गर्नु भन्दा अथवा केही चीज मन परेको छैन भने कम अप विथ द सोलुसन. द्याट्स व्हाट आई से. इट्स एज सिम्पल एज द्याट. कम अप विथ द सोलुसन फर द युथ्स इन नेपाल. अनि अरू भने लाइक I totally agree with what Abhinav says, and I totally respect what he's doing also. You don't need to be in Nepal to make your country. Nepal बनाउँछ भने नेपालमा बसेर बनाउँछ भन्छ हैन. There are a lot of people who are outside Nepal and equally contributing to Nepal to get to improve this place. So that's it. That's what I can think right now.
Yeah. I know. I think sum up is very simple. आफूलाई बनाउनुस् अनि देश बनाउँदा. आफूलाई बनाउनु भनेको चाहिँ सकभर पैसा बटुल्नु चाहिँ होइन. हैन, आफ्नो बौद्धिक विकास गर्नुस्, आफ्नो काममा लगाव लगाउनुस्. आफूलाई पढ्न जानुस् भने पढ्न जानुस्, आफू अर्को देशमा गएर केही वर्ष बस्नुस् भने जानुस् बस्नुस्, तर आफूलाई विकास गर्नुस् अनि त्यसलाई कुन तरिकाले सानो तरिकामा मद्दत गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ सब गर्नुस्. हामी कसैले पनि देश बनाउने ठेक्का लिएका छैनौँ, राइट? एन्ड त्यो बोझ बोक्नु पनि परेको छैन. तर त्यसको मतलब यो पनि होइन कि देश डुब्दै गयो अथवा आफ्नो गाउँठाउँ डुब्दै गयो आफू सुतिराख्ने चाहिँ होइन. सकभर गर्नेलाई गर्न दिनुहोस्, नगर्नेलाई गरेको छैन अनि गर्न सकिन्छ भन्नुहोस्. आफूले गर्नु भएको छैन भने पहिले आफू नै आत्मग्लानी गर्नुहोस्. आफ्नो घरमा गोबर छ कि सुन छ भनेर पहिले थाहा पाउनु, अर्काको घरमा गोबर छ भनेर भन्नुभन्दा पहिले आई मिन बेलुका सुत्न जाँदाखेरि शान्त होस्. देश असक्षम हुनुमा हामी आफै नै असक्षम हुनु हो. पढ्न जाँदाखेरि पढ्न जानेलाई पढ्न जान दिउँ. यो अनेकौं थरीको बाधा अर्चन नगरौँ. गर्ने मान्छेलाई आफ्नो बाटो हिँड्यौँ भने देश आफै बन्छ. यो अर्काको बाटोमा खुट्टा हाल्ने काम गरेपछि गाडी पनि एक्सिडेन्ट हुन्छ, मान्छे पनि मर्छन्. सो युवाहरू 60% छौँ यो देशको भने भनौँ न 55% भए पनि आधाभन्दा बढी हो. युवाले मात्र बाटोमा सही बाटो हिँडिदिने हो भने यो देश आफै बन्छ. के छ भने यो आधा युवा बारी खाडीमा काम गर्दैछन् फर्केर आएपछि पैसा सही सदुपयोग गर्न सकिँदैन खायो ओर्यो हलियो हिँड्यो अनि भोलिपल्ट फेरि खाडी फिर्ता गयो अब मेरो सानो सुझाव भनेको आफ्नो बाटो आफै हिँडौँ हैन अर्काको बाटो अर्को कहाँ हिँडिरहेछ त्यो तरिकाले केही पनि ईर्ष्याको भावना नराखौँ उसले चाहिँ यस्तो होस् कि अब त्यो गलत बाटो हिँडिरहेछ भने आफ्नो साथी आफ्नो मित्र आफ्नो छिमेकी भनेर भन्नु छुट्टै कुरा हो तर कसैलाई उचालेर कसैलाई थचारेर हैन अनि कोही नेपालमा छैन कोही नेपालमा नभएकोले देशलाई गरेको छैन त्यो भन्न मिल्दैन किनकि आफ्नो आफ्नो थालमा जे दिएको छ त्यही खान पाइन्छ त्योभन्दा बढी इच्छा गरियो भने अट्दैन र पच्दैन सो सजिलो आफूलाई विकास गरौँ त्यसपछि देश विकास हुन्छ आत्मग्लानी गरौँ अर्कालाई नचाहिने गलत काम गर्नबाट बचाऊँ आफू पनि बचौँ हैन अनि कसैको राजनैतिक आडमा हुर्केर देश बन्छ भन्ने आशा चाहिँ नगरौँ युवा हौँ अब देश बनाउने ठेक्का चाहिँ लिएको छैनौँ मेरो चाहिँ यति हो
I guess यसमा concluding मेरो एउटा question, what is the impact that you want to make then? तपाईले आफ्नो ठाउँबाट चाहिँ हैन, what is the dream you have, what is the change you want to see, and you're already working towards it हैन, धेरै कुरा गर्नु भएको छ, we're really impressed. तर what is the vision that you have and how are you going to do that?
Yeah, well, like what's the vision though? I'm curious, like अहिले यसो सोच्दै अबको 10 वर्षमा के चाहिँ or maybe 2030 for like North Star जहाँ छ, what's that North Star for you personally?
North Star.
North Star हो नि North Star. पुकार दाइको North Star is so famous. हामीले शङ्खसभामा हाम्रो टिम त्यहाँ लोकल टिमलाई ट्रेन गर्दाखेरि पनि North Star देखाएर हामी यहाँ जाने हो, यहाँबाट छौँ हामी यसरी जानुपर्छ.
So what is your North Star again? I think that's what he's trying to say.
No, मैले त्यही भएर
context.
कुरा हो.
ठिकै भयो.
What's your North Star?
And I'll just help out a little bit, which is hopefully in the next 20 years we're able to say Nepal is a prosperous country rather than fighting for prosperity. Prosperous, that is equality for everyone, equity for everyone. A country where poor people do not have to struggle daily basis to meet their ends, to do the ends meet. I've got a vision where I want my people, I want my children to not have to struggle for education. Country that is looked up to as a peaceful, prosperous, harmonious country. It sounds really vague, but it is doable. A country where everyone is responsible, a country that is not divided on political boundaries, but rather, is together on a cultural basis. A country that is called Nepal, a Nepal where we are one, not bound by nationalism, but bound by the fact that we came a long way. So it's a vision where we say in 20 years we are prosperous, right? Not fighting for prosperity, and it's for everyone.
I think I have a similar, perhaps, vision, but I think like...
I think everybody is talking about Samriddha Nepal, but let's not talk about Samriddha Nepal. Let's talk about 20 years ma Samriddha and Samriddhiko Avas, I don't know whatever they call it.
Yeah. I think
I like telling good long lines,
yeah.
I'm pretty good at
made
that.
for like Bollywood actor.
No, I was supposed to be one.
You were supposed to be one.
Unfortunately, I didn't make it.
Education of children is more important than acting, I think, I think agreeing with that, I think I'm more focused, so I work on supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work in education. I think I've had a few different kind of experiences, and well, I'd say I think I've got these two different trains of thoughts when I think of my North Star.
Yeah.
One is a more personal level where I think I want to learn more and become a better educated person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one. So it's not with the master's, PhD, or any of that. I think it's just becoming more learned.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps becoming a lifelong learner is going to be my big North Star.
Mm-hmm.
And that also includes giving back. So like sharing and learning, I think is part of that. And then there's this kind of more professional vision. I think I used to initially have this big, broad, kind of almost vague vision of like eradicating poverty in the world. Like that's, I think, what I used to, like if you asked me 10 years ago, that's probably what was important to me. So then under that, all of the other issues like climate change and inequality, all of that fell. I think now it's gotten more specific. So I think now I have a more clear North Star of like something that I probably can say I can attain it, and it's probably something that can happen within the next few decades. And it's more towards eradicating the stigma with rural communities. So I think whenever we think of the word rural, we think of poverty and we think of undesirability, right? Like, no one wants to go work in Sampasava, right? It's hard to find people to go work anywhere else. And I think it's because the stigma with rural communities is that it's poor and it's undesirable. I actually think it's one of the richest places in the world, and I actually learned most of this from you. Like, you were the first introduction for me to rural Nepal, going to Sampasava with you and learning about Nepal. And in Nepal and other parts of the world, wherever there's this urban-rural divide, and I think I just want to eradicate that, because a lot of problems in today's world comes from the fact that people want to leave communities which are considered rural because it's considered not exciting. It's considered places that does not have much to offer, but I think it actually does. And so my big vision in the next 30 years or 20 years is to eradicate the stigma with the word. And I think the way I want to do it is by using the word empowering, but by empowering those communities to be the stewards of their own communities, right? Like as we used to say back then. So I think for now it's with coffee. So I want to start with coffee farmers and just empowering them so that they can just shorten the value chain and become their own coffee business people, right? Once coffee is prosperous, their children, and they won't see the need to go and find a job in Kathmandu or anywhere else in the world, right? So I think there's one start. Hopefully there'll be more added to that, but that's kind of my vision, I think.
Yeah, no. What a simple solution for a vision. Rural भन्नुको ठाउँमा semi urban भन्दै. No, I think along your line there is a very straightforward vision.
In addition to their views, I think like जस्तो जुनै पनि कन्ट्रिजहरु हैन त्यो जस्तो ठुलो कन्ट्रीहरुको कुरा गर्ने USA केमा छ इनोभेसनमा अगाडि छ फर एक्जाम्पल जापान केमा छ जापान त्यो कार्सहरु मेसिन्सहरुमा जापान अगाडि छ हैन साउथ कोरिया केमा छ टेक्नोलोजीमा अगाडि छ हैन त्यस्तै ग्लोबल त्यो एउटा वर्ल्डलाई चेन्ज गर्ने टेक्नोलोजीमा कुनै बेलामा लाइक इन 20 years नेपाल should be a leader हैन कुनै टेक्नोलोजी आयो भने maybe AI some sort of AI or maybe space exploration for example कुनै त्यस्तो innovative ideas that can change the world त्यस्तोमा चाहिँ I dream that Nepal lead those things एउटा कुनै चिज like apart from making Nepal, let's be a leader in something globally that can be anything, even
coffee technology, bro.
This year there's a 40% drop in coffee production
in Nepal.
So it's going to mostly climate change, so black frost like that, and there's like a lot of pests, and farmers are actually cutting their plants too because it's not profitable, but it's not.
Sampasavama coffee उमार्छ नि त बजारै छैन कहाँ नहुनु बजारै छैन कोही आइदिदैन किन्नलाई
अनि पश्चिमतिर गुल्मी गोर्खा स्याङ्जा
बजार त अहिले छ
Sampasava is good for all.
That's Surya's pitch, is Sampasava good for all.
Good for all. No, I think along your
land गर्ने बेलामा नि त्यो तल के रे तुलिङटारमा चाहिँ त्यो लेखिदिनु के त्यो ल्यान्ड गर्ने ठाउँ चाहिँ Sampasava good for all.
No, I great eventually that will come too.
आफ्नो फोटो पनि राख्ने
गर्नु पर्यो नि त ब्रो एकचोटी प्रतिनिधि भयो भने त राख्नु पर्दैन
पुरा माला राख्नु पर्यो
Prime Minister. Yeah, okay.
No, I think along Abhinav's line. Along Abhinav's line, I think मेरो 10-year vision is to see kids in school, happy in school. I work in the education sector, both in private and non-profit community schools. And अबको 10 देखि 20 वर्षमा यदि हाम्रो देश एउटा शैक्षिक गन्तव्य बन्न सक्यो भने जुन भूपरिवेश देश भनेर हामी आफै चिनिन्छौं, सायद अर्थतन्त्रलाई टेवा पुर्याउन सक्ने ठूलो क्षेत्र हुन सक्छ. र जुन अर्को महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा भनेको 10 वर्षमा आफैले मेरो तर्फबाट र म जोसँग आबद्ध छु हामीले गर्न सक्ने भनेको कृषि क्षेत्रमा हामी काम गर्दैछौँ। हामी चाहिँ एउटा देश यो तरिकाले चिनिएका छौँ कि र मटेरियल प्रड्युसर भनेर चिनिन्छौँ। दुध उत्पादन गर्छौँ, दुध हामीले पठाउनुपर्छ बिहारले उत्पादन गर्छ अनि फिर्ता पनि ल्याइदिन्छ अमुलको नाम अरू के नाम ब्रान्ड राखेर, राइट? In 10 years time, if we produce enough products, both organic and inorganic, to feed China, which is one of the biggest market for organic products, and then we also have another big market right south from us, then we'll eventually become prosperous. So नेपालको अबको 10 वर्षको यात्रादेखि 10 देखि 20 वर्षको यात्रा भनेको शिक्षा र कृषिमा केन्द्रित भएर जान सक्यौं भने समृद्धि अवश्य आउनेछ।
We have some never have ever prompts.
Okay.
You can go ahead, read them, and then sort of like, okay, this one of my anecdotes आयो भने you can share.
You want to start?
Yeah. I'll pick up. Never have I ever fallen asleep in a meeting. के गर्ने?
What have you
गरेछ भने के पानी खाने?
I mean, you can just like go ahead. You can stop.
No, I don't think so. No.
Are you kidding me?
Meeting ma?
छैन?
Meeting ma no.
सरकारी मिटिङहरु पनि भएको छैन?
Meeting हरु no, I don't think no.
No, you have.
Have I? I think I have, yeah. To sleep and then I've dozed off.
Oh,
right?
dozed off, yeah.
Dozed off. Like, who's gonna go like...
I have, I think, the phone calls, because my team is mostly in Costa Rica, so my calls are always at late at night. Everyone I talk to is usually late at night, so I stay up till 2:30 sometimes. And because like it hits you, like you're tired. And so like, I think once, like this is not very long ago, like a couple months ago, I think I dozed off and then I could hear the other person still speaking on the phone. And then I just woke up and then I was like, okay, so.
Oh yeah, I think. Yeah.
But in front of someone, I think that's hard to fall asleep.
Yeah.
ठुलै मिटिङ हुनु पर्यो त्यहाँ चाहिँ पछाडि बसेर सुत्नु तर like face to face, I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not. Never have I ever been on TV. Ooh. Have you been on TV? Surya has been on TV many times.
You have also.
When was I on TV, man?
You haven't?
Daipta Fellowship को त्यो cover गर्न आएको थियो नि. I think त्यो हाम्रो fellowship presentation symposium मा. I think they interviewed
you were,
me.
You were there.
They interviewed me.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah. Because त्यतिखेर त हामी सबैलाई इन्टरभ्यू गराएको थियो. Like त्यो हामी सर र there was a बेलुका कति 8 बजेको न्युजमा आउँछ भनेको थियो.
I don't know. दाइता फेलोसिप त हैन तर म पहिला त्यो एउटा रेड क्रसको प्रोग्राममा या आइएस फिल्म रेड क्रसको प्रोग्राममा थियो अनि एउटा त्यो एल्पोस्टको कुरामा पनि थियो.
You were in some like talk show अस्ति भर्खर हैन?
Yeah, no, I
remember seeing something.
मेरो dream to become celebrity has been fulfilled.
Acting
I go on TV too much. I don't know. I think work has given exposure, and that I think has resulted in appearing in interviews in the TV. It's for the benefit of at least TV. Quite a few times.
Never have I ever thought I was exercising leadership, but was actually exercising authority.
I think that's been a lot of times. I think त्यो unknowingly हुन्छ के कसैलाई चाहिँ तर I think त्यो balance पनि हो कहिलेकाहीँ चाहिँ authoritative पनि हुनुपर्छ कहिलेकाहीँ you have to let it loose पनि. So knowingly चाहिँ authoritative भइएको चाहिँ छैन तर unknowingly त underneath the table त धेरै चोटि भएको छ.
My experience कहिले चाहिँ हुनै पर्ने हुन्छ कति एकदम सिचुएसन अब त्यो डिग्रेड भयो भने कुनै प्रोजेक्ट गरेर बेलामा हैन त्यो बेलामा चाहिँ you need to control each and everything. You need to control even the movement of the stuff to places.
Yeah, I think sometimes if you're placed in that position, like, and that's what authority is, right? It's someone just telling this is your authority to do this, and you have to do it.
Yeah,
I think definitely multiple times where that's happened.
Never have I ever cried during the leadership course.
Cried?
Right, Kina?
This is a thing. What?
Yeah.
People do.
Was it? No.
What happens?
Did we?
त्यो part त्यस्तो emotional.
Kiन have त्यस्तो?
कुन one?
I guess public narrative that they're
Hey,
sharing their
true,
stories.
true, true.
Did we?
No,
No, हामी चाहिँ रोएनौँ जे भयो भने अरू कोही रोयो भने
But I
पनि
don't remember this experience when you get. It was actually quite fun. I mean, crying is not that it's not fun. I mean, it's good to cry, but like I don't remember
anyone crying,
anyone
हैन?
crying like that.
थिएन त्यस्तो कोही पनि.
Yeah.
Never have I ever used the public narrative framework to deliver a speech.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, I have.
I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I अस्ति भर्खर एउटा उ लेखिरहेको थिएँ जर्नलमै लेखिरहेको थिएँ क्या. I was preparing for a talk. And then literally like story of self us now नै गरेर सुरु गरेको थिएँ क्या.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I've been practicing this for what, 6-7 years now.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No, thank you guys.
Thank you
We
guys.
hope
This
you
was
got
great.
everything you needed.